So that's what but if you go through the slide, it makes sense. And also if you scroll down in the note page, there is some additional explanation. So if you have questions, I can answer those things. Okay. So today I'm going to use this slide, which I uploaded only a few minutes ago. Okay. So today we're going to kind of go over some of the stuff that we already discussed through the entry strategies. And we kind of discussed when you decide to enter foreign countries, not only the format, entry mode, you have to decide the place. So we can talk about a little bit, kind of going over those cases that we already did, and then merchandise management, we already talked about how the Walmart Carrefour has adapted to local lifestyles. And we did a chart for how they did it. So we can go over a little bit, kind of a review. And also to kind of discuss the issue of globalization versus localization. So through some of the examples that you already know a lot. And then we're going to cover some retail communication today. And the pricing management will be covered on Tuesday with the Best Buy case. And then customer service on Thursday with Dr. Steve Kahn. And today, the fashion retail industry presentation, not you, but you and the Shirley. No. Yeah, you, I'm sorry. So let's do during this retail communication because that's what they are doing so well, okay? Okay, so anyone kind of compare the Walmart Carrefour their place strategy? In terms of retailing, we emphasized the last Tuesday that location, physical places is so important for retail. That's why a lot of retailers are in a hard time expanded to the foreign countries because you have to physically there, which means you have to find the best place, which account all the traffic counts or shopper patterns. So, and also that means that you have to adjust the product assortment to those traffics. So that's why it has been tough. So, Walmart has been a typical strategy has been the suburb area where the people with family with a car, and they adopted the same strategy in China. And so in the beginning, they had a hard time. Do you remember the Carrefour entered earlier so that they got all the good location, cross-section location where good transportation, public transportation, and also the residential area. So they had to go to a more suburb area that they had a strategy here. But at that time, assumption, their business model is that you have to have a car. And you already know that China, not many people have a car and drive. So we're going to go over some of the statistics, and it's so obvious, but sometimes it's kind of missed in the entry strategies. So, and also we discussed the 7-Eleven case, and it's kind of not clear how companies can make money in that competitive markets in Shanghai. So we kind of had two different opinions whether it's good to enter the Shanghai market or not, and the location will be really critical in those areas. And Yufei mentioned that 7-Eleven should be in the more school area. I think it's a good idea that school area, a lot of kids, not kids like young students like a junior high, high school students, even college students, those are the major market maybe they can target, for instance. And Gap entered again in China again, and they failed because their partnership didn't work in the past. So they entered China, pulled back, but they had to enter again, and they're closing all the stores in the United States. But they have a huge plan to expand the number of store opening in China. But the format has been changed because the time passed. So this time they enter in the two format. One is a store, so Beijing and Shanghai, but also with the e-commerce. And the e-commerce is really interesting and booming in China. So maybe we can have a whole session on Tuesday when we talk about the Best Buy. So you're going to present next Tuesday, so we can talk about the e-commerce. And Michael will present the company called Alibaba, who operates the Taobao for the company research. So yes, it's a really great company to learn about. So I think it's a good opportunity, especially for supply chain, major. Okay. And so, on next Tuesday, so Taobao business model is very interesting. So you guys can kind of prepare a little bit that kind of teach us. I think their model is a little different from the here in terms of they have a shopping mall for each store, and so maybe you can kind of open the website here, kind of walk through what the Taobao is about. I think it's a really interesting business model that we all have to learn. Mm-hmm. And then outlet shopping malls is also really increasing in China. Why do you think is that case?
Because people still want the luxury brands or even high quality brands, but maybe at a lower price.
Mm-hmm. And any other reason that you guys think of? I think because of capitals, a lot of these outlet shopping mall centers are being developed by the state-owned enterprises, and they have easy access to the capital bank with the good credits. And also currently all the locations and real estate still controlled by the government, and so you have to have a work with the government. So because of a tight relationship with the government and also the bank, state bank, and they expanded, they built a lot, their own, and with the partnership, joint venture, but they built too much, I think. So already they see a lot of shopping centers, especially outlet shopping centers, not doing well. Even they just opened it, they closed those outlet stores. And so, tenants are just not many. So if you have a giant shopping centers, only have 10 tenants, it doesn't work. So you're gonna see a lot of news about those kind of outlet shopping malls are closing, and also a lot of development is done not by the demand. Instead of a demand is driving, it's more planned. So when you plan, you don't really think about what the retail shopping environment should be, what would be the consumer lifestyles of this shopping area, because that time there is no residential areas. Everything is planned. You're gonna see by visiting the Inco that before even still people live in a huge building of apartment condos, they have a huge retail store first, which means it's planned by foreign retailers, but also the government, in the expectation that they will draw the residents into the area. But without the good planning, and also many things that happen that plan doesn't work. So you're gonna see how mega scales they can build the things without actually people live in that area. So it's gonna be quite interesting. You're gonna see a lot. And as in the United States, do you remember 2009? There are a lot of houses built in the assumption that demand will grow, and everything is planned in a few years ago. So they still build, but in the middle of building the condos, they have to stop. So I think that kind of things may happen in China. What do you think, Amity? You guys are experts. You read the newspaper, right? Listen to the news. Have you? Yeah, so what I'm saying is there are a lot of booming in the construction in China, and every person who traveled in China is amazed that every place the construction is happening. And some construction will be successful, but some construction maybe not. I don't know. Already happened.
Because in my because I have doing the exchange program for the undergrad, so my first 2 years was in China. In that time, my university have already to build a building, but I don't know why for what reason. They just they build maybe 10th or 11th floor. They just
Stopped.
So yeah, it's not that I think it's this situation now maybe already done, but I don't know why. But I don't think it's a really usual. It's just 1 or 2 examples.
Yeah.
High buildings
Yeah, high buildings like malls or
or apartments.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Actually, in Beijing, there are more high buildings that tear down little houses and build more apartments because many people going to Beijing, and there's no enough place for them, so they build.
Yeah.
And this sometimes is not good for the residents because many houses represent the culture and they all gone.
Yeah. So in the during tour, you're gonna see the Shanghai, and Shanghai has a really great culture, and you're gonna visit the kind of old, kind of a more relaxed Shanghai town. It's called the Water Town. You guys know? It's in the yeah, Zhejiang, and also you're gonna see really urban sided, and in the middle the parts are destroyed. That kind of all the 5,000 cultures are being disappear. I think that's very sad. So you guys opportunity to see those things before it all disappear. Okay, so I mean we can talk about that later, but I think the reason that I'm kind of mentioning is that China has been growing so fast, but because that growth is driven by the exporting industries, which is the U.S. and the European countries. But when their economies slow down, doesn't recover fast, and that exporting industry will be slowed down, which means that their GDP growth will be slowed down, and then they have to drive it to the domestic consumption. But the domestic consumption in China is only focused in this Beijing, Shanghai, or the major cities, because all the rural workers are coming to the cities. And there are not much construction you can do, right? Because only limited land, how much you can do. So it has to go to the more second tier, third tier cities, but without the good management skills. Managing the whole mall is not easy job. And so China doesn't have that kind of years of experience how to manage things, how to recruit this international retailers, brands, how to operate in the daily activities things. So that's, I think, is a huge opportunity for Chinese nationals in terms of job opportunities, and the talents are needed in those kind of things. So government need to build those domestic consumption to grow. So that's kind of personal opinion. Okay. And then merchandise management. So we kind of see the Walmart careful, how do they change their assortment to be successful in a market. And Carrefour did a wonderful job in the beginning, but if you look at the PowerPoint, you're gonna see why Carrefour had a hard time lately. And also the case reading that you did has a wonderful stories. So this, localization is kind of a must for even the franchise companies. So when you think about the franchise company, McDonald's, KFC, you expect that brand concept products are consistent across everywhere. But many companies are changing their business model and the product more in China. And so McDonald's is, changing their menu. KFC is changing their menu, and Pizza Hut is a totally different restaurant that you don't recognize as a Pizza Hut. Here, Pizza Hut is nobody wanted to go. It's like a rundown restaurant look like, but in China, it's a totally different menu, totally different environment. It's more like a high-scale restaurant. So you're gonna see those Pizza Hut, how they changed the whole concept there.
Do they still serve pizza?
They still have a pizza.
I don't know if they serve something else. I don't know.
Have something else.
Yeah.
Have the rice.
Oh, okay.
So
That's not just pizza. That's
For
awesome.
KFC we have rice and porridge, something like that, the blackbirds. Yeah.
In
yeah, you guys elaborate more, so because they cannot visualize what kind of food they sell.
And Pizza Hut, because I think like my friend just told me that, and if we invite you to the Pizza Hut, it may be a really high level dating, because it's not cheap for the Chinese people to go to Pizza Hut, because like maybe 100 or 200 yuan RMB for a meal, so it's not that cheap. So like you said that it's not high.
Mhm.
But Pizza Hut in China is much better than here.
Yeah.
When I first came here, I thought Pizza Hut in USA maybe as the same as Pizza Hut in China. Then I got a coupon.
So you're excited.
Then I went to the Pizza Hut and I was so disappointed.
Yeah, in China, Pizza Hut is very popular for the young people. Whenever, if the weekend we go to the Pizza Hut, you will need to wait for the line. There was a long line for in my city there was a long line for the Pizza Hut, and sometimes the Pizza Hut kind of dating restaurant.
Dating place. That's good.
A lot of boys, if they will ask a girl to
Dating.
to the Pizza
It's
Hut.
not cheap, it's
I see.
expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the pizza in Pizza Hut is really delicious. And there are all kinds of drink and rice and better there.
So you guys try Pizza Hut in China, okay? Yeah. Yeah.
There's it says China has the best Pizza Hut in the world, and they're like showing you pictures of like the menu so you can see what. Oh, okay.
Okay, so try the web then. Yeah.
What about home delivery? Because I think that has a Pizza Hut moved to more home delivery in the US? Because I remember 18 years ago, going to a Pizza Hut restaurant and it was satisfactory. I mean, it wasn't high scale, but the shift has been away from the restaurants into more delivery.
Yeah, I don't think China Pizza Hut deliver any food. Once it's a high-scale restaurant, they do not offer delivery service. So
They deliver.
they deliver? Oh.
Like KFC and McDonald's.
Mm-hmm.
People like to go to the restaurant because the environment of the Pizza Hut in China is very, very good.
Do they have lighting?
Yeah.
That's interesting. They closed the Pizza Hut in my hometown. They made it delivery only. There's no
Yeah.
dine-in anymore.
Okay. So make sure you drop by the Pizza Hut in China.
A lot of the transaction
25 to
Yeah.
That was,
yeah,
It's like, well, we're going to Pizza Hut.
he was just
next.
saying
I know.
that when you go to dine at Pizza Hut, it's more of an intimate environment, so I think that's why couples go, and that it modeled its, shall we say, dining experience on other restaurants.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which it didn't do here.
Like a while back, it was more of like a themed environment. Because I remember in elementary school, I went, and that Friday night, everybody from school was there with their little buckets.
Right, because you used to get those little
Yeah.
coupons from reading books, and if you're a Florida student, you know, I see shaking heads, so you might remember that. My son did the same thing, so. And it was enjoyable, I mean, it wasn't, plus you can take your kids.
Yeah.
There are not a whole lot
Yeah.
of places you can take kids. Or,
Mhm.
but you don't take kids to Pizza Hut. In China.
No.
No, the family go to
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Some goes to KFC.
Okay.
Richmond.
And why Chinese people like a KFC so much?
Because Chinese people prefer chicken hamburgers. So KFC is much more popular than McDonald's in China.
Yeah, that's
And
kind of a
And
amazing.
KFC also use the localization strategy, and in KFC we can eat rice, and some Chinese traditional breakfast, and something Chinese traditional food in KFC. And compare with McDonald's is still serve the hamburgers and something like
Mm-hmm.
that. It's very
Yeah.
KFC always promote the new products, and McDonald's always follow KFC.
And the KFC even developed their own another restaurant, Chinese restaurant.
Now
Yeah.
everybody can see how important the eat to Chinese people. When we talk about the food things, all about the eat.
Yeah, food is so centered in the whole culture. I think, yeah.
But McDonald's is different, right?
I think the
No.
menu is almost the same, right?
But it's
Almost
spicy, like the hamburgers are spicy, right?
Yes.
Yes, some kind of the hamburgers.
Yes.
Yeah, you can, yeah, you can check.
They look some different things, but most of it's the same.
So, several months later, you're gonna taste the McDonald's hamburger in China and KFC.
I don't eat
Okay, so yeah, Andrew.
How do they market KFC in China? Like, do they still use the kernel, or?
Yeah.
No, seriously, do they have a different image for marketing?
They still use this kernel.
The image is still the
Old
same.
man.
Yeah.
Confucius.
Yeah.
And the location is very important, because where you can find McDonald's, you can find KFC. You know, there is a game on iPhone called Draw Something. One of my friends draw a street, and here is a McDonald's, and across the street, and there's a store, and let me guess, and everyone's answer is KFC.
Yeah.
They always cross.
Each other.
It's like Walgreens and CVS.
Yeah, here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And is there a 7-Eleven nearby? No.
No.
Or is it in South?
Yeah, in South China.
Okay.
Yum brands.
I believe, yeah, the Yum brands. So it's all part of. over
Yum
there,
brands,
it's all
KFC
big,
and
Pizza Hut.
Pizza Hut, and those are Yum brands. And
Or
Taco Bell's,
Yeah.
but are not the
There's no Taco Bell
McDonald's.
there yet, no.
No.
I don't think that would do.
I don't think that would translate well. I feel like
Might.
it doesn't translate well here.
Okay, so the food actually localized a lot, even though they expanded to other countries. But how about the Zara and H&M? Even Forever 21 is the new player, but they also expand aggressively to the other countries. Uniqlo is a Japanese company, kind of the same category of this fast fashion. So you guys see those kind of brands in China too? Is it same here, there?
More quality.
Mhm.
The young people will like to, they want to have this nowadays they have some problem about that because from the internet we know something like that maybe the quality is not that good. So the Chinese people like to think about that why we pay like so high price to buy it's not really good quality product. So I think Java H&M and Forever 21 need to think about that because the brand is really famous in China now, but now the quality problem the issue.
So kind of these fashion brands keep the same product without the much modification because what their strategy is really truly globalization. They target the global consumers that fit their product images and brand images, and they do not much modification except the sizing. Sizing has to be different by different countries. And even it's a very, other countries relatively very quick to learn about the differences, but not American companies much. So I see a lot of furniture company, I met a lot of furniture company like 10 years ago, for instance, they do not even change the size of a furniture. So when I first come to United States, and also I had a furniture in my home Korea, I had a furniture from US. And it was a huge, and they do not change the size, and they do not change the bed, and they just don't change, and they're just hoping that other countries buy their stuff, and it's a very, very different mindset. So you're gonna see in a Home Depot how they entered China. You read it, the case. You're gonna talk more maybe with Dr. Khan next Tuesday because he wrote that case. But think about the IKEA. Those two companies are basically the same concept, right? Do it for yourself. But the way that they adopted it to the local market has been so different. So I think the challenges they have is the same. So you guys did a Home Depot reading. So what challenges you see right away with the Home Depot model? Maybe?
People don't do their own work.
Yeah.
I think it's because labor is so cheap. Like here in America, labor is expensive. So people prefer to do their own. I think pretty much it's like easy to fix anything in your house, but in Asian countries, in other countries, it's harder. It's much harder, and professionals, they don't take that much money to fix that. So.
Yeah. So there's no concept of doing it for yourself. It's the labor is so cheap, and also so that's the case. Even though they have an apartment, when they call the apartment, which is the condo here, and usually they come with an empty shell, which means that even there's no toilets and no paint in the wall. Nothing, no bathtub. So you have to buy each one, but because the labor is so cheap, you don't do. So then who are the customers? Not the consumers.
The people that do it.
Yeah, contractors. But the contractors are the main customer, but the constructors, they already know the suppliers and they can make a deals, right? And they do not go to Home Depot because they already have a 10 years relationship with the vendor suppliers. So there is a home market is really active and in China. So we're gonna visit that home market. So you're gonna see why those things are, Home Depot has so much trouble in that. So if that's the case, and why IKEA is not failing in the market? Cheap.
This is not as hard to do yourself. Like, I don't think it's ever taken me more than 15 minutes to assemble something from IKEA. Whereas Home Depot, putting in a toilet yourself is a whole different matter.
But maybe IKEA, they don't have cars. How are they going to carry all
Yeah,
this
it's the
stuff
same problem. Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Yeah, and Ali.
Well, IKEA's centered more around furniture, and Home Depot's centered around like enhancing in and around your home. And there's no landscape. Like, people aren't going to landscape the areas in China because you're living in
Yeah.
apartment complexes. So whereas people in the US use Home Depot much more because they wanna enhance the grass and the, I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
everything around. So
Yeah.
that's why, I mean, IKEA is pretty much all furniture. So.
But still, I think it's a challenge is that they don't do themselves, and price is a advantages, but you have to hire someone to deliver, or so how do they come up with the strategies? Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know how they come up with the strategy necessarily, but when I was like looking at videos before, I noticed that IKEA has a problem like Apple with people coming in and doing copycat versions.
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing something somewhat well for people to come in and have the same product and the same layout of the store for people to
Yeah.
getting real products. They're just not really IKEA. So
Yeah, I heard that when the IKEA put the store, there's a store next to the IKEA that we can do better price than IKEA with the same products. Yeah, and even Apple's have a store that Apple didn't allow. I mean, that Apple didn't know. So, you know, so IKEA has challenges because the product can be made so fast, copied, and cheaper. So they can make a cheaper product, you know, maybe better product. Then how do they overcome those challenges? I know that IKEA is doing well in China, but still the problem that you see, you know, delivery issues, price issues, and those are still the problem, challenges. So think about how do they overcome those issues.
I mean, I don't know what they do, but they could offer services like the decoration and stuff, like the whole assembly of a room.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of just having the pieces, like having the designer
Yeah.
aspect of it. I know the Home Depot articles have said stuff about that too, like offering not just the physical tooling and stuff, but to also offer the services for the ideas, the creativity behind it and things like that. I'm not sure how they're doing it in China, but.
Yes, exactly. So instead of selling individual, so they selling the room designs. So that's kind of a service that other companies cannot copy things. So retailers have a tremendous disadvantages compared to the manufacturers because you have to present everything to the shoppers, and which anybody can copy. So someone from who been a merchandise designer for the Zara and Carrefour for so many years, he came up with the idea that intellectual property of a visual display, which is really difficult to do, but that's kind of an intellectual property of the company, and which is very easy to copy, right? So, you know, that's a really difficult business, retail, because you cannot hide the things. Mm. So the IKEA major promotional tool was the catalogs. So, but because the catalog cannot be used against them, so they reduced the catalogs and then used the small small brochure kind of instead of a catalog in China. And also think about and also the shopping behaviors are so different that they think IKEA is a more family lingering place. So I read an article that some people, you know, sleep in the bed and read a chair for a long time, and so that is the kind of a challenge that IKEA has to deal with, and also the China, because the income, IKEA product is cheap compared to the other product, but still the majority shoppers' income level is low. So they, here if you go to the IKEA store in Orlando, people buy truckload of products. Do you think that's the case in China? No. So what do you think? What they're gonna do? So how the behaviors, shopping behaviors, how much they gonna buy in IKEA?
Just like one item.
Yeah.
Some small item. And I think in China doing business, the brand culture is very important because I don't know how the IKEA reached there, but when I go to the college, I go to another city. Because in my city there was not a IKEA store. So I go to a big city, Dalian in China, and when I come to the college, a lot of my classmates, all the old one in the school, they will tell me, you need to go to the Dalian IKEA. It's kind of like the place that the visitor needs to go, and like for some young people, it's kind of like a fashion place. You need to go there, and the IKEA is kind of, I don't know what it's like in America, because in China the IKEA is the style of IKEA is one like just like you in your family, and there was a lot of different family in IKEA, and a lot of people, especially the young people, will go there to take a picture. Yeah, just to take a picture and send it to the Chinese Facebook, and it said, oh, I'm going to IKEA, and this thing is good. Oh, it looks beautiful, and then maybe they will buy something, small things for this. Because in China there was not a room for the something sold in a Home Depot, because China people for some Chinese people, a lot of people, they have to live in a very small place, a very small room. So there was not very big place to buy from. Yeah.
So exactly what you are describing is the challenges for the IKEA. So that store draw a lot of traffic to the store, just to see and just to hang around and just to what is new, but not necessarily they buy stuff. Maybe they buy one item.
They have food? They have food?
Yeah.
So typically if you go to the IKEA here, the people shoppers are those who going to buy stuff. So here works, but in China, even though you have 10 times of more traffic than normal store that you're going to have in the United States, but the sale is so low. So that's the huge problem for the IKEA to overcome. So you have to have enlarge the space that it can accommodate the people, right? Because service level, too crowded and you cannot service people, right?
And for the Home Depot, I never heard it before I came here. And for most Chinese people, why they care for people to help them to build their house, because the worker can get a lower price. So we hire them. And when we go to IKEA or some other furniture stores, our house is already furnished, so we don't need to buy. If they're located like some place interesting, we like to go there, and when they decorate their real house, real room, we can see the stuff. Because when we see it, we always imagine where to locate it, where to use it. But if they locate it as a real house, we can say, oh, really, we need it. For IKEA, one of the famous part of is their food. Many of my friends told me you should go there because the meal is really good, and their ice cream. So we go there because of the lunch.
Yeah.
Maybe also the consumer behavior, like just my parents, when they like to decorate the home, they will go to different store to look
Everything.
Yes, and they will not just like go to one store and buy all the things. No. And it's like they just like go by the store one by one, and I just asked them, why you can just like go to the IKEA and buy all the things, and my father just said, no, we need to compare.
So you guys are describing is exactly kind of what the market researchers have found, and so that means it's a very fundamental consumer behavior that you have to count. So Fang mentioned that because the room is small in China, it's kind of hard to imagine how to use the IKEA product for their room. So what the IKEA did was how to turn your dorm room or your small room in your apartment with the IKEA room. So that has been very successful. And also they realized that Chinese people do not buy a lot at times, so it has to be the frequent shoppers. So they changed the model that instead of just the IKEA store, they create the IKEA mall, which include IKEA store inside, but the other complementary stores. So it's not just a IKEA store concept, but a IKEA mall that even though store can compete with the IKEA product, but eventually, if you go frequently, you can increase the sales. So there is a totally different business concept they turn around to make that happen. So in Beijing, there is IKEA mall now, so welcome to visit there.
Yeah, and you should understand it was a customer group of you need to face. In China, the Chinese girl, they prefer to just work a long time and just buy a little thing. And so I think the IKEA is very smart to catch that. They know how the Chinese customer the style of the Chinese customer to buy things.
Yeah. Good. Okay, so what you guys discussed, kind of a quick overview. So this is the red, is the urban area in terms of population growth and the rural area. So you're going to see huge influx to the urban area, but the decrease in the rural area. And income gap is going huge, which can create the problems for the government. And so you have to kind of be careful about the things that government will push the more support for the rural development. So there a lot of retailers are going to the second, third tiers, even fourth tier because of subsidies and also those incentives from the local government and the central government. And this is the consumption. So this is the urban area and the rest of China. So urban area is a small portion, but it's comparable to the remaining China. So we already gone through this one, and all the spending power lived in this coast. And this is the increasing little, so that a lot of new investment is coming this area, but not this area. What? Sorry? Yeah. So you cannot walk without touching other people because it's so crowded in Shanghai. So you're gonna be careful.
It's not a really good experiment to take a subway or in a city.
So subway, there is a pushman, right? So because the people cannot fit in the subway in a cart, so that guy is Japan, yeah.
When I went to New York, I thought it was like that, but it's even worse, like a lot.
Yeah.
New York's our densest city, and I don't think it comes even close to touching their top cities as far as density. So.
And there's no like letting people off first?
Yeah,
Like,
no.
when you get on the subway, they won't allow you to, there's just like people coming out and people going in all at the same time. Like, in America, you let them come out first and then you go in. No, it's like survival of the fittest. Like, get on it.
So you can handle it. Yeah, but also there is a very interesting because the differences in each region and the city. Even we're gonna visit the Guangzhou and the Shenzhen, both that one tier 1 cities, but those are also the very different city. It's only 2-hour bus drive distance, about. Yeah. But Shenzhen is a more younger population, and because the older manufacturing folding companies and even the Walmart enters Shenzhen as a headquarters, so it's a very much a heavily manufacturing places with a younger population. But Guangzhou is a more older populations, and so taste is so different, even the 2-hour distance in the major cities. So you're gonna see those things. And can you so middle class, but also the very mass affluent household, but a lot of rich people, affluent household, and many millionaires shop the luxury. So we're going to cover some luxury phenomenon. And in terms of a population, still, even though it's a small percentage, 1.6% of a population, but still huge number in terms of number of a household is just 6 million with the 1 million higher than incomes. So it kind of you can take a look at the later this PowerPoint. And young urbanists are the major shoppers, but also the biggest spenders, right? You. And those major spending group is much younger than other parts of the world. So 20, 30, 40 in China are the major shoppers. And even luxury shoppers here are the 40, 50, 60 people, but in China it's the 20s and 30s. I'm gonna show the clips, which is very interesting.
White collar princess.
Yeah.
Never heard that before.
White collar princess. And he mentioned the young girls, working in a company. Those are they do not think, Chinese usually save a lot but they do not, when you're young, you don't think the future much. So what you earn, you can spend. So that's kind of and also with the disposable income and being a single, child in a family, I think you used to do whatever you wanted to do right away. Is it right? Kind of. Maybe not you, but many young people. Little emperor concept is the kind of characterize those people. But this is also the future market opportunity for you guys to think about, because of one-child policies, and there are a lot of older generation, but not young generations. So there'll be a lot of, health issues and retirement fund issues, those kind of a market will be the really growing market in China. So, I think there will be the growing market that you have to look at, health and well-being and those nursing home, even those kind of area. And maybe China, I'm not sure, but when I traveled to Japan, when you do not have a younger generation, it's really upside down pyramid. It's really sad that if you're looking at that, you're gonna amazed by how old the people are and not many young people. So, so China, rising confidence in terms of their economy and the growth. And compared to the other countries, it's increasing, but also the very high. And the couple of years ago, we videotaped the actual family in China to kind of understand what's the regular families, what is the living environment, because what you see in the news is either luxury shoppers versus very poor rural consumers. So this is the typical normal middle class. Sorry, the spelling. There is a subtitle. Can you read or? The kitchen is a very tiny kitchen. Even it's a small area, there are a lot of household cleaning tools.
Wow.
And it's amazing that there are a lot of eggs. They eat a lot of eggs. So it's a friends of friends of friends that we interview. See, every day. That's a typical. Okay. Just a second. So fresh things they buy in the open market if they cannot find there, and then they use the supermarket.
I have a question. Like here, is it like when you go shopping, if you buy things in bulk, is it like a lot cheaper, or like if you go to Sam's, you could buy something in bulk? Why she got so much? So many.
Was it cheaper to buy the eggs at Sam's?
Yeah.
You know that in China we do not because in United States the supermarket like Walmart, they offer the family size, but in China the family size is not that popular because we just buy a pack. It's convenient for the housewife to bring back to home because we don't have car.
And also they don't have a storage place.
But the fridge is full.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what do you mean fresh if it's full?
Another problem because when I think the first time I come here and then back to China, and when I back to home and I thought, why our home furniture is so small compared with the United States? Because I think the model or the size is different from here and China. Because the China's one is like a little
Small.
Yeah.
If you're going shopping every day, you
Yes.
shouldn't have that much stuff in your refrigerator because
It will
Like-
go bad, right?
It depends on different families. Maybe
Yeah.
this family is, today there's a low price for eggs, so I don't
Yeah.
want to buy.
The consumer behavior.
Yeah.
so they have bulk pricing, so it's cheaper.
Yeah.
So you guys purchase depending what's cheap and not what you want.
No.
For my mom, yeah. Yes, I always ask her, do not buy too much, but she always told me, because it's cheap. Okay.
Last time we were talking about like the different shopping behaviors, shopping every day, and then now we're looking at this. So I still wonder, like, was it a hard transition for you guys to come to the States where you can have so much and refrigerate and then have a big refrigerator? So do you guys use the refrigerator now, or is it like 2 shelves? Like, how is the transition? Great.
It's a student, though, do not.
For my apartment, because two of my roommates are Chinese, so yeah, our refrigerator is always full. Yeah, and it's not really convenient for me. I think at the beginning when I come to United States, I go to Walmart, and I thought, because how can I? Because at that time I don't have car, so I think how can I bring such a huge stuff back to the department of the dormitory. So it's a really huge problem for me when I first come to the United States. All the things are family size.
Too big
And,
size.
I think it's a different behavior at a different era and different families. And I think for the Inner Mongolia, which is my hometown, the person they need the vegetable, they need the fries. You can see in the fridge there was not much vegetable. They will buy the vegetable every day. And for the fish or something, some animal in the sea, they want to buy the fresh one because it
It's
can,
inland.
it is more important the fresh. And for the pig, for the chicken, they buy it. They will buy it a lot of to put it in the fridge to hold it. And also for the eggs, they will, because Chinese for Chinese people, a lot of Chinese people think that if eggs is very important. The eggs and the milk is also very important. So they will put a lot of eggs in the fridge. And because my hometown was a lot, in the Mongolia, there was a lot of the milk factory, so we need to buy the milk fresh. So not all things need to be fresh, but something, especially the vegetable, they need the fresh. Yeah.
So this place is the Wuhan, called the Wuhan.
It's the
Oh, your city.
Yes.
But if you look at the refrigerator, the freezer is the bottom, this small portion, which means that other stuff, still they eat a lot of fresh things, right?
But another thing that maybe you guys find weird, don't you guys find weird that the roofs here are super tall?
Oh yeah.
Because when I go to my country now that I live here, I found that when I get in somewhere, it's like so short. And like everything here is so tall. Like once you move here, you don't notice it. But when you go back, you're like, whoa, why is this so like close to me? It's because people in other countries are not as tall as everybody here in the United States. Here, a lot of people are super tall.
Yeah.
In our country, they are tall, but not as much as here. So everything's like smaller.
Yeah, and also I think heat issues. Heating, I traveled to Brazil and supposed to fall season, and the building, no building has a heating system at all, even winter time. So they are built no heating system. So it's kind of odd, but yeah, I think heating issues in the ceiling may be low, maybe, I'm not sure, but. So actually we followed her open market shopping, so you guys are welcome to watch at home, and it's just fun. And we followed her supermarket shopping too. So they shop for fresh food daily, and great emphasis on the freshness. And the price sensitive, and also that they bargain a lot over price. not in supermarket.
Just in the open market.
Shop at different places and compare. Comparison shopping is a huge, and they study even before shopping, right? And not much in the customer service. The customer service is kind of a not creating the extra value to the customer, which means, so that's kind of a challenge. And if you offered it's a free instead of the value. Mm-hmm. And
So there's rush hour before making lunch. Like in the grocery store, there's a rush hour where everybody's buying vegetables for lunch. So
No.
there's a time in the supermarket where it's like packed.
Morning and
Morning.
afternoon.
Yeah.
Morning and afternoon. Yeah.
Yeah, my mom often buy the vegetables and some dishes afterward. And
Mm-hmm.
go back home.
Actually, in our case, the 超市坊,
Yeah, they open the
the morning market.
morning market,
Yeah.
yes. Mm-hmm. And group buying is a very interesting phenomenon that we wanted to talk about it on Tuesday. So you guys talk about it, okay? It's really fascinating, okay? And still not big spender or the buyers. Hi. And saving is a habit. We learned that confusion in the philosophy to save the things for future. So if you compare this investment here, 44%. So basically more than 30%, 1/3 that they do save compared to the 15% here. Okay. And if you compare this one, shopping is one of my favorite leisure activities, China, and also the family leisure. So I think this kind of it's a very good summary of a typical kind of a generalization of a shopping behavior. However, what is the more important in the purchase decision is really depending on different tiers, but the price is always important, brand is important, but the other stuff is really varied by the different tiers. Okay. And what I found interesting is China, brand is important, the price is important, and convenience is important, everything is important. And so here in the United States, it's kind of a expectation is some reasonable. So if you expect for the Walmart a cheaper price but not excellent services, when you go to Target, you expect the good price and the good product design, but you are willing to pay for a little bit extra compared to the Walmart. If you go to Macy's, you expect the different services, but you are willing to pay things. But that's not the formula that works in China. So if you see this graph, you're going to see everything is important. You cannot compensate things to others. So brands is very important, and the price is also very important, and still important. This is the yearly survey. And they still like the brand, but they are not loyal to brand. So always they consider brand, but either brand. So promotion at stores is so important because they are not stick to the one brand. So they like the Coca-Cola, Pepsi, but there are a lot in the middle. Here is you are either Coke person or Pepsi person, but that's not the case in China. And still, also the McDonald's, still there are a lot of a middle between two. So you can choose, in the cross the street, one is a McDonald's and one is a KFC. You can decide on the side. And so this is all examples about across the countries. And middle means that not brand loyal compared to the other countries. Okay. And what's the brand drivers in China? It's a good quality is the most important. Okay. But in the channel driver, which is store you go, good quality, but also you want to have a wide variety of products, and also that is the cost to the retailers, good quality, and still low prices. Okay, so in terms of a brand's preference between foreign versus local brands, and the younger generations, I think they like foreign brands better than older generations. In terms of media, I think it's very interesting, and also the marketers really have to understand that this word of mouth is really important in China. They talk a lot, listen to what friends said, and share the information. But at the same time, TV advertising is also very important, right? So you have to see things in the TV, right? But not just to see the TV, but with the celebrities. So those kind of is very expensive in terms of that creating the media exposures. But also still looking at the internet, how to reach to your customers. So it's a very challenging market. So media habit in China, word of mouth is the most important, and then TV. So even the luxury companies trying to use online to reach, in order to communicate with their customers. Okay, behaviors are changing. That all the times, food is less important, but home appliance has been really hot item, but not, it's moving to the another product categories like communication, transportations, and entertainment, and the healthcare become more important in terms of spending categories. And work hard and get rich is kind of a drivers in the past, but it's kind of slowing down that concept. I think a young generation, Elena mentioned that they are become more individualistic, but different individualistic. So I think individualism here versus the individual in China, I think is different in terms of product consumption. So for instance, Japan is also become very individualistic, and the luxury brands, one of the pictures shows that teenagers all have Louis Vuitton handbags, even and it's very interesting. Each handbag is different. Even the Louis Vuitton brand, in either different shapes, strings are different, and somehow different, but they all have things. So individualism that express ambition, those kind of success, materialism, is kind of express yourself, but in a collective society. That's the brand, and what is the popular, and what is the fashion. I think that's really important in China compared to other countries. Do you agree? Yeah. And collecting information from the internet, other sources, very information savvy, but at the same time, they share information with the friends and others. Not much brand loyalty. Okay, and internet is really future of the China that you really have to look into. And this is the hot group that luxury companies are struggling because the traditional market consumers are 40 to 50 to 60 age market. They have been targeted, but in China and emerging economies, the ages are different, so they have to think about whether they have to change the brand personality even. Because if you're looking at the Ferragamo, it's another brand that older people like, and they use the very tone, very older person's kind of a color, the brown and deep green, blue kind of things, and that doesn't appeal to the young generation. So a lot of luxury companies are looking at the different color schemes or changing the store environment or changing the product assortment to appeal to the younger generations. Okay, so I'm going to show the video. This is the Chinese consumers in Europe. In the UK, usually in the early January and February, they have a huge sales going on. So we're going to see what happens there.
At Selfridges, doors open for the traditional Christmas and New Year's sale. They're expecting over 150,000 shoppers at the end of what has been a bad year for Britain's retailers. In the vanguard of this year's rush, thousands of Chinese consumers with sharp elbows, deep pockets, and an eye for a designer bargain. In the first 3 hours of trading today, the store estimates 60% of their clientele will be from China. Students studying in the capital, Chinese expats working in London, and long-haul retail tourists here just to shop. On the street outside, this is the line for Gucci handbags.
Maximum 5.
Maximum 5
Yeah.
Gucci handbags.
Yeah.
How much do you think that's going to cost you?
A bit. 900.
How much are you going to spend?
About £2,000.
£2,000?
Yes.
How old are you?
That's 23 years old.
23?
Yes.
That's a lot of money to spend.
Yes.
Inside, the way the Far Eastern shopper is a sophisticated animal, expert in the luxury end of the British retail spectrum. Designer brands are what they want.
They are true experts on the designer brands. They really do know. You see, as soon as you see a trend moving from one brand to the other, you can see the Chinese very much driving that.
The statistics are incredible. This year alone, the Chinese shopper worldwide has spent over $2 trillion on tax-free shopping. Their spending here in Selfridges has gone up 60% this year. On average, a Chinese shopper in Selfridges today will spend a staggering $1,700. When the cash flow from the British shopper has been declining, this influx of big spenders from China is welcome news.
They actually spend about 40% of their money when they come to London on shopping, so a huge market for us, and we expect that to really grow over the next 5 years.
Away from the jostling crowds in Selfridges' personal shopping department, the only customer today is film star Li Bingbing.
I think the economy in China and the development it's really fast. People earn a lot of money, so they need to sell their money to enjoy their life.
She admitted that today she spent so far $6,000. For London shops, it's a welcome sign of the times in this new global retail village. Spending by Britain's recession-weary shoppers falls away. It could be the Chinese shopper that saves this country's shops this year. Simon McGregor-Wood, Al Jazeera, London.
I think it's interesting. In the last Christmas here in Florida, Orlando, retailing is saved by the Brazilian shoppers.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can watch the one here. at home. So we're gonna go over just quickly, just get a kind of a sense of, I think we already know about a lot, so I wanted to have a time to just to talk why. This kind of a try to understand this phenomenon of a luxury brands things, and I think you read and saw a lot, and so maybe we can talk about anyone who has a luxury handbag or shoes or jackets.
I have one, but I bought it in 2006, and I still have the same one. So
okay. You, what you have?
I have two different ones, but
Okay.
again, I've had it before.
yeah.
Long time. So why, I think the mindset got changed, I think. When I live in Korea, I think I might buy something. I have a few, but I never bought it. I always got a present. But now I feel like it's kind of ridiculous to spend that much money in that kind of items. But when you are in a totally different society, I think people think they're all differently. So why do you think Chinese shoppers now so much into the luxury and spend so much money on stuff?
First, the most important thing is Chinese people getting more and more rich. That's the most important.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe like the luxury goods can like to stand for the wealthy and the simple, something like that. So they want the luxury goods so they can sell to others. I'm rich, or I have the lifestyle, something like that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How about here? Why is not hot here?
I won't say it's like the desire to have it isn't hot, but
Yeah.
you see a lot of knockoffs and people
Yeah.
get those.
Oh yeah.
So if I understand what you said, it is that if I'm carrying a luxury handbag, then that's a sign of my own wealth. It's a sort of a signal. It's like holding up a sign that says I've got money to spend and I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid to do it.
I think luxury is not just a wealth symbol, it's more status.
Yes.
Yeah, it's more like a status. And so as you get more rich, the things that happen in other countries and here, people want to be very subtle in terms of showing the status. So if you're looking at the brands, like for instance, sunglasses or other things, as the prices go up, visibility of a brand is kind of getting low. So only you can recognize that you are the regular shopper of that brand. So, yeah.
Can I just add that? This may be something you've already covered. I'm sorry for coming in late, but there was another thing certainly that we saw on last year's tour that I think was important, which is that there are not that many well-known Chinese brands. So Mark Fairwhale, which is one of the places we will see, is trying to build a Chinese brand. So the other thing is when you looked at what Hanju had up here about the rankings of what's most important, it does become a the brand becomes a stand-in for recognizing quality as well. And so particularly many of the European brands, which are high priced, are also perceived as being very high quality. So it's a way of, as much as you can, guaranteeing that you're getting something which is a high quality item. And what's going to be interesting to me to see is that since there's a push in China to increase domestic consumption and not just overseas consumption, and as Chinese brands grow, the question then becomes, will the Chinese brands be able to get that same sense of this is a stand-in for quality, this signals that I'm getting the quality that I have right here, and how long will that take to do so? But there was that was another part of it, though, I think very much was that because many of the Chinese brands were seen as unreliable, as low quality, or at least not distinctive, that it was a way of at least trying to get something that you knew was going to be a really good thing.
Andrew, did you have any comments?
Just sort of agreeing with that. I don't know anything about handbags, but we were talking about sunglasses, and like I have a pair of Oakleys because I know they're really good. They have much clearer lenses than any other sunglasses you can get at Walmart or wherever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that emphasis on the brand kind of its quality is interesting. Is that more of an American phenomenon, that focus of tying the two together? Or?
Well, if you're building a brand and you're, let's say your food, your Nestle, your Kraft, you're somebody like that, where you want to have the brand stand for something, quality is certainly one of the things that you're after. And it is a kind of a guarantee. So in the supermarket business, for example, it took people a while to adapt to house brands or private label brands and so forth, because people were trying to figure out what is the quality level. So whereas if you pull the, all things being equal, if you pull the Campbell soup, you know what you're going to get. If you pull brand X soup, you're not quite sure what's going to be in that can. So it is a way to get some predictability into the market.
Yeah, but some brands, some features are not really, you cannot judge the qualities. So for instance, the Grey Goods is a Bacardi brand, right? And they made it as imported from the France, but that's kind of made up things. And so they wanted to create like a luxury vodka, and they think the France is the good for the luxury and craftsmanship and attention to details to make things high quality. So they create the whole things, they developed from the scratch. So if you're looking at their website, they have a field in the France that they actually harvest this weeds, and then they use the really clean water in the France and the bottled in the France and the imported to here. So that is the whole images and quality images. But if you go to the Miami Club, I heard that one bottle costs $300 to $500 because of an image they created. So that's the branding issues. Okay, so any knowledge for luxury brands need to know before entering into the Chinese market? You're gonna meet the coach president in China, and also the two people who worked in Japan for a long time, as well as the person who worked in the duty-free shops. Because of the luxury shopping associated with duty-free shopping a lot to avoid the tax, and duty-free shop is the major has been a major sales channel. So he's been working in that duty-free shop long time. And so it is a very interesting phenomenon that Chinese travel a lot, and sales record in different places doesn't really reflect what customers like, because now Hong Kong and Korea and other Singapore, the majority of shoppers may be Chinese and not the Korean. So what the luxury brands are trying to do is understand that these Chinese customers, what they like, so that they can drive the marketing strategies. But so the Coach different strategy was that compared to the other brands is they have their own stores, which means that other luxury brand has rented the space in the department store, many, but they decided not to use that strategy, so they have a own store. And also they are expanding second tier, third tier cities. And for the China, this aspiration, but affordable still compared to the high-end brands, and Louis Vuitton, Gucci is too expensive, but the Coach is reachable. So their strategy is working well, and they are growing tremendously. So I'm hoping that you guys have a good visit, but kind of understanding this luxury phenomenon is just something that something you guys not familiar with. So this is what I covered a little bit, but I think it'll be interesting phenomenon in the next 5 years. Okay. And also another characteristic of a luxury in China is the men's. So if you go to a department store, you don't see men's brands very well, but many luxury brands in China for the men is in the first floor. So if you go to New York department store, you see cosmetic jewelry in the first floor, but in China, actually men's jacket and the bags or watches in the first floor, because you guys can explain why.
A lot of businessmen.
Yeah, businessmen and some are gift items, the ties, and those are the really good gift items. So that's why those are the fill the space. Okay, but creating this exclusive will be the challenge for the luxury brands, right? The reason that you really want that one is because nobody has, or you wanted to have. And I went to the Rodeo Drive one time in the store. One of a salesperson says, this is the only one item in the United States. It doesn't mean anything to me, but it can mean a lot to some people. So like Korea, some department has a handbag which costs about $30,000, and there are a bunch of waiting lists.
Because one of the challenges if you have a single item, is it really a brand, or is it just an exclusive?
Yeah.
Because if part of the brand here, and we saw the Chinese walking around, I noticed a number of them were wearing Burberry in London. Burberry is very popular both in China and Japan. Is it more important that I show that I have a brand that everyone recognizes, or that I have an exclusive? Because an exclusive, if it's dress, let's say, unless you look inside on the label or it's a style, you don't know which dress it is. So I'm not certain. My sense is that it's kind of carried around as a flag that everyone recognizes, and that's almost more important in China, and I'm guessing here, than having a one only exclusive. I don't know.
I mean that depending on the strategy, it works. For instance, the sandal, the flip-flop, which is made of plastic, and it's a Brazilian company make that product, and one time they made it with everything kind of an accessory with the gold, and then cost $20,000 again, and so they don't think, and also they have multiple items with a different accessory, and they don't think that they're going to sell any item, just wanted to show as a display, but there are a lot of demands for the item, so maybe it depends.
Yeah, I also think it depends. I remember the
Chanel.
Yeah, Chanel performed number 5. It is a classical, like a classical one, and a lot of my girls' friends they will buy. No. They will buy, at least they will buy one because it is the classical one, so they will want to have one. Actually, I don't think it smells good, but
I agree. I don't think it smells good either.
But a lot of Chinese people want to buy one because it is a classical one for the Chanel. Yeah, it depends.
Because the luxury brand has already have an image in the Chinese people's mind, like the Chanel's and Louis Vuitton's handbag. They have already have an image in Chinese people's mind, and they just, I need that because it's Chanel, it's Louis Vuitton. That's it.
Yeah. Okay, so so we are done with the luxury. So we're gonna have a presentation, Feng and you, about this fashion retail industry. Okay, so you guys set up. And if you do not cover Mark Farewell case today, and I think the case reading is really detailed, and we're going to visit the company this summer. I mean, during the study tour. So we can talk about it a little bit next Tuesday.
Alright, so we're actually gonna hit on luxury a little bit as well, but we're gonna give a little bit more insight into why people might want and choose the luxury brands that they choose. So, and especially fashion retail industry, there's three different segments really. There's the low price basic realm, and then there's also going for the quality, and then luxury is at top. And luxury, again, is what we're gonna really talk about this time. Within luxury goods, there's the segmentation between art, transportation, clothing, watches, perfumes, and bags, decoration at home, travel, and food. And the little cartoon at the bottom kind of explains why people want to and need to have the luxury goods. So within the business environment of luxury and fashion goods, the culture behind it, people, when they choose their brand, they really look for companies that have a history behind it. So Coach, their emblem has like the actual horse with the buggy and the coach. And they look for brands that they can go back and trace the lineage and have a recognition behind it. And they also want to go for companies that know the country that they're in. So if you go to China, make sure you have the different colors that speak to them, or different characteristics that make them feel like you're actually targeting them as a consumer. The economics behind it, we touched upon it, that there's a rising income from China. So again, if you have more money, you really want to be able to spend it. And the politics behind it, the government really pushes luxury goods spending and spending on consumer products in general, much like in the US, because if we spend money and put it back in the system, it creates jobs and all that kind of stuff. With that said, also, we talked about it also, the gap between wealth. So although there's a number of people spending and getting these luxury goods, but there's also a larger amount of people who are trying to get to that level, but just can't do it at this point. So we've talked about how people use the internet a lot more in terms of checking for prices, comparing goods, and also just looking to see what's out there. But that doesn't take away from the fact that when you actually go to the store, you want that connection and the quality of good customer service.
Because since China entered the WTO in 2001, there are more foreign brands booming to China, and also because appreciation of RMB, so Chinese people have greater power, purchasing power. And last year, the luxury sale in China is $12.6 billion, and China has already become the biggest customer of luxury goods in the world. You can see it's nearly 30%. And this is a rank of popular luxuries in China. It's almost the same in America, right? No, right?
Yeah, we like to buy those too.
Yeah.
And many luxury brands choose to open an account online, like Facebook, Twitter, and also they have account in China, Chinese Facebook and Chinese Twitter. And you can see there are many fans of Coach on Facebook. And 88% customers like to search the luxury brand online, and 38% of them buy it online. So many brands use this strategy. On this festival, they have more advertisements and deals of this brand. And China don't have many coupons in luxury goods like here. So people only search online to see what's the new stuff, the new items. And this is just copied online on the biggest website in China, just like Google in America. And this is how many people search this brand today. So the first one is Louis Vuitton, and second one is Chanel, and Gucci, Hermes, Coach, and Prada. The same as the brand.
Is this just the Louis Vuitton apparel, just the clothing?
As a brand.
Brand. The work.
Because they also, they also have Moet and Chandon and Hennessy and others. So the LVMH group has a number of brands.
Chinese people like their bags.
Bags, okay, so this is on the
Bags and perfume.
fashion, okay.
And this is a picture. If you have a chance to go to the luxury store in China, you can see this. And yeah, because price is different in China and the foreign country, more people choose to buy things abroad when they travel to Europe or Western country. And this is a rank of what's the stuff they want to buy. First one is watch. The reason why watch is the first one, maybe because men is working in China, and so their wife go outside and they buy watch for their husband. So that's the first one.
So they buy only for husband, or they buy themselves for themselves, or?
Clothes and perfume and bags.
They don't need watches, they have their phones for time.
And as you know, relationship is very important in China. Among Chinese people, so they choose to buy luxuries as a gift. So 50% of the luxury they buy, actually they treat it as a gift to other people. So this is the most popular luxury brands as gifts in China. As you can see, every brand is foreign brand, only except
Matai.
That's white wine in China. And this is Wang Fu Jibao. We may have chance to go there in Beijing. And you can see many luxury stores along the street. And this is another famous street in Beijing, Xidan. And here is another one in Beijing. We may have chance to go there.
Okay, so as we talked about a little bit and throughout the presentation that there's not many domestic Chinese companies that are actually the luxury brands. A lot of them are foreign to them. So we want to talk about, or we're going to pose the question, what's going to make the Chinese countries be more popular, more of the luxury brand title? Because although it's growing, but it's still not as big as like the Louis Vuittons and the Chanels. Or can it even get there? Because a part of the luxury status is being able to have the money to travel to go to the places to get there.
So do you guys have a kind of a brands that are comparable to, you consider as a luxury in China, domestic brands?
Maybe I think in the gold area there are some, jewelry.
Jewelry?
What about in areas where China is known for a long time, such as ceramics? Is there a special kind of dishes that are considered to be, the very best? Because the Chinese people for thousands of years have been making wonderful dishes and things.
Yeah, because in the States, to be able to have an authentic like Chinese platter, but it's really.
My grandmother's very proud of all her Chinese
We have to
dishware.
too.
What if the domestic retailer had gone international, like a brand that started in China, went international, was now like in New York and Paris? Would that be more impressive if you went there to shop and you noticed, hey, next to Louis Vuitton and Chanel, there's another brand that I know is from China? would that kind of up them in your mind or no?
And another kind of stuff is jade. Like this.
Jade.
Oh, jade.
It's very traditional.
Yeah. I wonder if people have more confidence that they're getting the real thing rather than a fake if they buy it abroad. I mean, I know that the 10 Rolex watches that the fellow offered to sell me for $15, I'm sure they were all probably real.
Well, it's like I had friends, we went to New York and the place they wanted to go was Chinatown so they could get fakes.
Yeah.
And they were like, we have to go to Chinatown and get fake Tiffany's and fake Louis Vuitton. And I was like, well, if you care that much about having the brand, I mean.
That's it. Unless you guys have any.
And the article that I uploaded in the this week folder is the Brown brand, in actually domestic brand that they are expanded a lot in China. And their challenge for growth is actually, it's called the Middle Brown. I don't know how to pronounce in Chinese. So earlier folder, I put this retail property inside, and according to most recent survey of a brand presence in China, in terms of a fashion, this Mitters Bonnet, how to pronounce this one in China? You guys know about this brand? The last one.
This one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
So explain the brand to us.
What's the name again?
Middle Bounty. So,
Advertising is good.
have you been their store?
Yes.
Do you consider it's a major one in China, or?
Yes, not a luxury.
Yeah, it's not a luxury. I think
Mhm.
Miss Long is like Chinese Gap. I see.
Chinese Gap.
Because they invite a lot of superstars to do the advertising, and Chinese young people like Miss Long very much.
Do you think that they can make this company international?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
The price is relatively cheap.
And design is good.
Design is good,
And the model is popular.
popular.
We're going to have to change the name.
So what does it mean? You guys know China always has a meaning. This doesn't have a meaning. Okay, so
It's just like the MAR4956. Actually, before, lots of the Chinese young people saw the MAR4956 is a
Yeah.
foreign company.
yeah, actually Mark Fairwell, when they invented the company, they registered it as an Italian brand in Italy. So that's the kind of their brand strategy. They wanted to make it more European brand, and I think that they've been successful in that way. And the company itself is very creative. Do you have a time? No. So we can continue kind of Mark Fairwell. I think it's a wonderful company that in terms of a brand strategy, what they have done in the 10 years, how much they grow in terms, and also the HR strategy. Maybe Steve can talk about more about it, but I think the company is so doing well in the branding, marketing, and then also the customer service and the stuff. So maybe you guys can look at their website, and then maybe you can have a little chat on Tuesday. Okay, so good. So we're gonna done this time, and so next Tuesday we're gonna do pricing. So Best Buy and also this group buying, we're gonna talk about it. And then e-commerce, you guys present this too. And I think that's a really good topic to talk about. And this pricing, I think it's really important in China, so we can talk about it too. So have a good weekend.